Parallel Journeys, in essence, can be considered almost like two smaller albums in one. Each half deals with different lyrical content, although there's still connection between the two stories. The first half deals with this journey of faith that we embark on, this journey of faith to step out and trust God. And as we know, this journey is not always easy. There are a lot of questions. We don't always know what holds in store. The imagery painted here comes from the passage in the Gospels where Jesus is on the water and he calls Peter out from the boat to step out onto the water where he is. And Peter takes a few steps, does well, then looks around him, sees the storm around him, sees the waves, and then falters and falls in. And then at the end, Jesus comes and pulls him back to his feet. The second half of the album explores the emotions associated with having loved and lost, the emotions associated with heartbreak, and finding God's peace throughout the entire experience. This part is meant to be redemptive in its lyrical content, that is, although the emotions conveyed are meant to be real, it ends with this beautiful prayer where it really wishes for this other person God's very best. So that gives a quick summary of some of the themes you'll find in Parallel Journeys, and also I thought it would be just nice to give you a little glimpse behind the scenes of some of my favorite songs on the record. So hope you guys enjoy.
Come on and jump on it, come and face the wind, can you feel it?
Runnin Water is the first full-length song on the album, and it's a song that encourages us to take a step of faith and step out of our comfort zone and not to be afraid, because we never know what amazing things could be in store until we try. Instrumentally, this is actually one of the most upbeat songs on the record, which makes it a lot of fun. But vocally, it was also one of the most challenging ones to record, simply because one of it's this incredible range, and I've been experimenting with these super crazy high notes, which are not always easy to hit. But when I walked into the studio, as I say studio, which is my bedroom, recorded it. It took several tries, but in order to get it to the point where I was satisfied with it. But afterwards, when it all came together, I think it actually turned out quite well.
Let's make this place a safer ground, a safer ground.
One of the most rewarding experiences I've had in both college and medical school was just being given the opportunity to have these friendships with people who may have had different faiths and beliefs than me. And Safer Ground is really the song about having these conversations, these real, genuine interfaith dialogues with each other. Just wanting to say, can we cultivate this safe ground where we can be vulnerable and open and honest with each other and not be afraid? Maybe even ask each other the hard questions, and maybe even walk out of these conversations with a greater sense of respect for the other person. And can we cultivate the ability to listen to one another? If we can learn to do this, I think we can really learn a lot from each other.
Lay down the knife that was given to you, we can't fall.
Not Invisible is a song I wrote in response to what I witnessed during one of my rotations in medical school. I remember being exposed to this population where I was allowed to meet many individuals, most of them were teenage girls, who would spend a lot of their times cutting their wrists. And although I've heard about it, this was the first time I've actually seen it in person. And upon showing me their scars, they were telling their story, and you could just sense the deeper emotional scars and pain that was going on in their lives. And as I was thinking, like, what could I possibly say? If there's one word that could possibly erase all the hurts, and sometimes there isn't. And sometimes all we have to do is just listen. And sometimes the first duty of love is just to listen and to just say, I understand you, I can hear you. You're not alone, and you're not invisible.
More than have my dreams, so
Tread Carefully is one of the most intimate songs on a record, and that stripped down, it's just piano and vocals only, which I think really sets the mood for the song. It attempts to illustrate just the pangs one feels for really wanting to find love but not really sure how that dream will come about, and just realizing that this dream of ours can be very, very fragile. And several different sources of inspiration helped to write this song, some of which included some famous poets such as Robert Frost, William Butler Yeats, and also another source of inspiration came from actually a very good friend of mine who happens to be a brilliant writer. I was reading one of his writings one day, and there was something he was conveying in his writing that I thought, man, I'd love to convey this in music as well. And so, that's sort of what got the ball rolling. And once it started, then I think everything just sort of came together and worked out.
I lay them gently at